Hey guys, this is What If Kazuma from Konosuba had the Omnitrix Part 4. Let's dive into it. So, last time I left off on a little bit of a cliffhanger about, well, a certain masked alien man coming to pretty much, well, Kazuma as a friend. Doing this whole event. Now, doing the whole event, backstory, all that stuff. Normally, when we switch to episode 4, what happens if you've seen the anime is pretty much just pretty chill. Cosmo learns a new skill, but at the same time, his skill doesn't need to be learned in this aspect. Kazuma isn't really stacking up his skills crazy wise because he has a literal item on his wrist that turns him into anything he needs. For real. But he does still at the end of the day learn the magic spell, the create water spell. But besides that, we start the episode off with the last cliffhanger of Kazuma meeting this masked man. He reveals himself and the mask opens up and we see a diamond head, or a creature similar to Kazuma's transformation of Diamond Head. Kazuma's kind of confused, asking him, so, who are you? He says that his name, give it to us later down in the episode. But what happened is Konosuba, pretty much Kazuma, be kind of confused on who this man is, or who this person is, who this Diamond Head, this person that looks strangely just like the transformation he uses time to time. He goes on, and the man starts to explain himself. Kazuma, you seem to get your hands on Omnitrix, which to me has seemed kind of lackluster since you're, with the looks of it, an idiot. But that's besides the point. He goes on a monologue about how Kazuma seems to be a little bit underdressed and also just not very well equipped for what he has on his wrist right now. Kazuma tells him that he knows a little bit about it since in his universe it was a TV show and it was also a book. Diamond is kind of confused, or this transformation, this alien is kind of confused, saying, "What are you talking about?" But it doesn't matter. The Omnitrix was sent here, and to be honest, a lot of people are going to come after it. I want to tell you this right now, to give you a warning. I won't be here for long, but people will come after it. People with extreme ways of persuasion, destruction, and a lot more death will come. And I'm telling you this to prepare you for what's to happen. A storm is raging, a war is coming on the horizon, and you need to watch yourself. The man, or the alien, slowly puts back on his mask and tells him to watch his back. As he flies off, and, well, Cosmo's confused. In this universe, this version of, well, this character, he quote-unquote, not quote-unquote, but, he's hired by some sort of alien in the galaxy, pretty much in cahoots with Azimuth, and he is making sure the Omnitrix is safe. Now, after the other, pretty much, bounty hunters went after it, and he was able to protect himself and keep the Omnitrix out of the way, he finds him okay enough, just for the meanwhile, just for the meantime. We're gonna leave that story or that plot point where it is and come back to it probably episode 6, probably episode 7. But we continue on with the main plot point of episode 4. So we see how Cosmo is kind of confused, but he goes on his normal, well, howdy dowdy day back to the guild and tries to master his water manipulation skill, or try to blast water out of his hands. It's not really working per se, but he is able to get a little bit out and perfect the craft or perfect the magical spell in a couple minutes. Now, Kazuma isn't too keen to learn too much magic, depending that he can literally turn into an alien that could probably outclass most of magic powers in this universe, but that's besides the point. Kazuma goes on and looks for the Omnitrix, kind of getting bored, eventually getting snuck up on by Midnight. Midnight goes on a little bit of a talk about how we need to go on a mission, and also about how we need to do something. Kazuma's kind of confused, but says, so what do you want me to do? Like, what do you want to do? And Kazuma says, well, I don't know what you want to do, but what I do notice is that Shiny has armor on you. Midnight goes on and says that she did use some of the funds we got off of the cabbage patch hunting, or the lettuce or cabbage, slicing and dicing and attacking the last part. So, put it simple, she did get a lot of money out of it, and she did use some of it. She did use some of it. Damn, she did use some of it to fix up her suit. Now, for Aqua, it's a different situation. What Aqua does, some stupid ass shit. Now, besides that, Midnight just gets a new staff and she starts to caress her body on it, saying, "You, the big, powerful, throbbing staff." Like, bro, chill, man, chill. So, after we get a little bit of that unnecessary scene with Midnight molesting her staff, you see that, well, Aqua got into some very bad news. Aqua has some lettuce mixed up with her cabbage, and somehow her funds are lower than, well, Kazuma. Kazuma is essentially rich now, to point blank. He essentially rich since he made a lot of money off of the cabbage hunting, and also was able to get pretty far in his training while he was training with the Omnitrix, and also training with his own body after his work and his hours of his, construction job. So what happened is he's essentially rich now. He has baller type money. Now, well, Aqua is kind of trying to get out of this pickle because she spent all her money in like a type of shady business with two guys about to freaking, I don't know what they about to do, but they about to get something out of her, man. They about to like get that money or get their payment some way or another. Pause. You know what I'm saying. But what happens is Kazuma, being the most, anticlimactic and kind of funny dude he is, says that that's not my problem. Kazuma starts to laugh a little bit as Aqua starts to cry and yell and say, "Please help me! Please!" Besides a little, little debacle, little situation right there, I'm gonna help you out. So what happens in the end of the situation, into the conversation I just contemplated in my whole mind, we go over, well, Kazuma giving the money to Aqua, and Aqua giving the money to the shady men. And this pretty much ends that whole debacle. Aqua doesn't get jumped or other things, and she kind of, gets the money to pay back the guys. And she does ask for more money and yada 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 to try to pit back into some sort of other business she wants to do, but Kazuma ain't going for it. Just tells her that I'm only gonna give you the right amount you need. But we can switch back to Kazuma, and Kazuma gets a new fit. Now, normally Kazuma gets his adventurous fit, and I am gonna do that. Originally, I was going to give him the Ben 10 fit, like with a jacket and everything, but he'll get that later down the line if it's possible, or maybe get a different suit, a little bit more Ben 10 inspired. Now, with his adventurous suit on his body now, he has the Omnitrix logo actually stitched on his cape now to keep his same type of aesthetic he had with his jumpsuit. So he did have some crafting done with his jumpsuit earlier on, I think in episode 3 to episode 2, where he had the little markings on his, outfit with with the logo, the Omnitrix logo on his jumpsuit. Now he is going to pull out the jumpsuit in and there throughout the rest of the series. I'll tell you when he's wearing it, when he's not. But yeah, right now he's wearing his adventurous outfit with the iconic Omnitrix logo on the shoulder of his cape. Now, after he stunts his new fit, and they say that logo is the same one on your wrist, is that some sort of family symbol? And Kazuma kind of gets saying, yeah, some sort of family symbol, as Aqua chuckles and say, yeah. So they go on and they start to look for missions. Now, they look at all these missions and these guilds, and they kind of are confused on what to pick, because all the dangerous monsters are the only ones on the board. None of the smaller E tier, E rank, or lower tier, easier quests aren't available. They do ask the maiden lady or the front desk lady, and she goes on about how a resident from the Demon King's army moved into a nearby area around this park. So all the weaker demons have gone into hiding for now. So I'm sorry, but it's not going to be any easier, monsters around. Kazuma's kind of confused, but ultimately he does kind of realize that he has a lock in, and he might have to pull out the Omnitrix for certain missions and get them some money. Kazuma does have money, but Kazuma still has to keep up appearances and also train himself. He was just told by some sort of random alien, after him getting almost assassinated by another alien, being told that more people like that assassin from last part will come after him. And Kazuma needs to lock the fuck in. So Kazuma makes his way and tells him that they're going to take this quest. It's a new quest called Monster Elimination. They're supposed to go deep into the forest and eliminate a freaking kaiju. I mean, this thing is huge. I mean, it's Godzilla level big. I ain't gonna say all that. It's like mid-tier skyscraper big. But damn, this nigga big, bro. This shit is big. So the group, or mainly Aqua, is saying, "Are you sure? Are you positive, Kazuma? Like, I know you're strong and all at times, but that's like an S tier monster. You can't really go against that off rip already." Kazuma goes on and says, "I think I got this handled." So they get on their way down into the forest. They start to hike their way up the forest all around. And eventually, somewhere down the line, they kind of get lost. But Kazuma kind of puts his head to the ground and tries to figure out a way to get in the center of the forest, since that's exactly where the monster is, deep in the center of the main forest. So eventually, they make it down there, and we see that Kazuma finds a huge footprint, the size of a freaking small cabin, bro. This thing is huge. So Kazuma kind of gets a little scared, but kind of tries to clear his mind because he has the Omnitrix. He has the most powerful weapon or object in the universe. And Kazuma does know a little bit of the lore behind the Omnitrix, since he did have it as a comic book and a TV show in his universe. So he knows most of the stuff that goes on. Now, yet again, Kazuma's not a real true nerd when it comes to TV shows. So obviously, he stopped watching after Alien Force. Me personally, Omniverse was top tier. I keep it a buck with you. Omniverse was top tier. Top tier. But actually, no. Let's say in this universe, Kazuma stopped watching Ben 10 halfway through Omniverse. He didn't finish Omniverse completely. So, he doesn't know too much about the lore just yet. But he knows enough and he'll figure out enough. He doesn't remember too much of it because he watched as a kid. And that's going to be a part of the plot, because I need him to understand and grow with the Omnitrix, grow as a person and change over the time and the universe this holds, with him having the Omnitrix and all. So with him going on this mission, we see that Midnight kind of starts to freak out and kind of just starts to, let's just say, touch herself at the thought of being vandalized and brutally, beaten by a freaking kaiju. And for simple, Kazuma's kind of just disgusted by this. I mean, who is this freaky ding digger? But we see that Kazuma kind of just tells him to relax and chill, as they're going to pretty much just sit back as he takes the full force of this by himself. Now, Midnight does tell him that maybe we should just go with a full-on attack first off the rip to try to weaken him, as Kazuma does think this is a good idea. So he tells Megumin, sorry, I lost her name a little bit. Megumin pretty much starts to tell him that bet. So Megumin charges up an explosion to take the monster off rip and pretty much try to take it down full force. So she summons a huge blast of explosion magic and shoots the monster point blank off rip. Now for the description, the monster's description and how it's portrayed in terms like its body, physical shape, power leveling. It is literally just a car titan, just in the design of a symbiote. Basically with black skin, scaly marks around its body, with white eyes and a slithering tongue. That's how it looks. So you see how Kazuma sees the explosion go off as the monster starts to try to regenerate itself, saying, "What the hell is this thing? It can heal?" Kazuma runs towards it, unlocking the Omnitrix and going for now Kazuma was going for forearms for some muscle, but he goes in as Wild Mutt and starts to run around the monster fast as possible, trying to disorientate it and kind of tucker it out. Eventually, he gets near the core of the monster and tries to rip it apart, but the monster grabs him by the back of the neck, or back of the hair, and chucks him into about 4 different trees, making a huge shockwave, almost destroying Kazuma. Kazuma gets up a little bit bruised up, or Wild Mutt gets up a little bit bruised up, as Wild Mutt tries to rush towards the monster once again. Using his superior echolocation, or not echolocation, but sniffing powers, to try to see around his area and also see his environments with more of a detailed look. He sees that it's a weak spot near the area, since there are some old areas or some old construction areas deep in the forest. He tracks the monster up a mountainside as he tells, well, Aqua to try to make a distraction. He runs faster and faster, trying to build up enough momentum to hit the monster off the cliffside. He tries rushing towards it, but Midnight, stupid ass, gets in the way and tries to hunk and clunk at the monster, trying to swipe it away with her sword. Turns out, no, not a surprise, she has horrible aim with even a sword. That's close combat. How do you miss a sword strike when you're a freaking crusader, bro? She's trash. But she misses and gets absolutely swatted away by a hand, and she loves it. Fucking weirdo. But she gets sent flying past Kazuma, as Kazuma grabs her before she can fall the cliffside, throwing her back on the ground before he can pretty much move his head back towards the monster. The monster is right behind him, about to take a huge, chunky, delicious bite out of his back. But with his heightened senses, he's able to dodge out of the way just in time to get right behind the monster and bite its neck, trying to get deep into a vein or major artery or something along those lines. Kazuma gets grabbed in the middle of his torso by the monster and is being held like a freaking toy, and it's getting slung around. Kazuma's getting slung back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and getting thrown off the cliffside. Kazuma's starting to fall down as the Omnitrix's failsafe to keep him alive kicks in, transforming him into Island. Seems to be a new transformation to Kazuma, but Kazuma gets the hand of it, or gets the hand of it, or the handle of it pretty quickly, as he does remember watching this guy on TV when he was younger and actually loving this guy's design. He starts to use his body kind of like Mr. Fantastic, making himself into a slingshot and shooting himself back on the cliffside up in the sky, making a parachute with his body and falling down or gliding down on top of the monster. He starts to restrict the monster's movements and tries to keep him still for Midnight to land a blow. Midnight had a clear shot. Had a perfect, clear, precise shot straight down the noggin and missed. How do you know? Yeah, that's what happens. So Kazuma starts to tweak out and just starts to unleash a crap ton of chemicals out of his spores on his back, trying to kill this thing instantly. He tells the group to scatter now. Meanwhile, Megumin's still on the ground in the forest, not to freak out because, well, she can't move after she uses her spell. So the monster is getting hit with all these doses of chemicals, poisons, hallucinogens, or hallucinative drugs, or some sort of drugs of sorts that make you hallucinate. I can't pronounce them. I'm kind of, I'll get on me now in the comments. But yeah, so they start to get out of there as fast as possible. Midnight and Aqua start to dip out of there. What happens is Kazuma, through the smoke, through all the chemicals, burn, and smoke screen, he gets himself a chunky piece of meat from the monster, as the monster is, well, dead and kind of like overdosed out of the extreme amount of toxic chemicals Kazuma mixed within his spores. So yeah, after that, Kazuma jumps off the cliffside, swinging himself back down near his, well, group, and tells them to get ready to get back to the city, or back to the guild, as they're going to have a hefty reward. They get back, and the way back there, we see that Aqua and Midnight were told earlier off to go back towards the guild, as he's going to stay back and try to test out his new transformation for the last minutes he has left with it. They go on, and Cosmo starts to train harder and harder with it, piercing through trees, swinging around the forest, and really just taking advantage of his power. Eventually he times out and he walks back to the, well, city, as he finds himself in kind of a predicament.
what happens is what happened so far is some sort of demon shows up. Now, prior to the event happening earlier on in the episode, with them going over or going after that monster, days before that monster guild or that monster pretty much mission was taken up by the group or mainly by Kazuma, Kazuma actually was helping Megumin with her explosion magic, helping her conjure and basically use her explosion magic daily, helping her and actually learning the art of explosions himself, and kind of finding what she found so interesting about explosion magic. He doesn't get the whole, being not being able to move after he uses or after you use the spell, but then forth. Now, and I'd be thinking, if she was able to use it, like spam it like an actual gun, like spam explosion magic, she would be OP as hell, bro. Imagine someone just spamming a nuclear warhead on your forehead, bro. And not even taking a minute. Like they spam that ass on you, bro. They spam that shit. That's insane power right now. I ain't gonna hold you. She's able to pass by the whole being not able to move after using a transformation, or not being able to use a explosion magic spell. That's gonna be OP as hell. I ain't gonna hold you. But we see on this flashback that they constantly went every single day for weeks on end, pretty much exploding up a house, trying to train Megumin pretty much train her power. So every single day for the next couple weeks, like clockwork, would blow up a castle again and again and again and again and again and again and again. Now, before that, also all the stuff in between, Kazuma saying that they don't think they're gonna be able to take up the Demon King or whatever, and I'm just normal dude. Kazuma doesn't actually say it in this continuity since he has the Omnitrix. He knows he has power, but he just wants to keep it kind of chill and nonchalant. Now, Kazuma does know he has a really big responsibility, depending on it's going to be people after this thing he has on his wrist. He has to also take down the Demon King and pretty much save this universe or save this world. So to put it simple, Kazuma has to try his very best in terms of everything, really, because he has to do what he has to do. He has to do everything in his power to make it so that he doesn't get, pushed back. He doesn't lose his life to this world, as well as he has literally two different sides of a coin, dependent on either trying to find him or kill him. Either two. So Kazuo doesn't say this, but he does have this internal struggling, trying to figure out if he's good enough to wield this thing, and also trying to figure out how is he going to take out the Demon King. And even with his setbacks of being able to not use Omnitrix all the time, being timed out, and only being limited to around 12 to 13 transformations, it's kind of lackluster to think that he doesn't even know his true strength yet, as he doesn't even remember half of the show itself. So Kazuma is kind of at a loss at words for what he's supposed to do in this new world and what he's supposed to do with this newfound power. But we see that more serious side of Kazuma kind of gets drafted or pretty much drafted away right before Kazuma pretty much finishes off the monster and goes back to his quirky little self as kind of a jokester, or kind of like just a comedic kind of nonchalant person. So what happens is, after that whole debacle, whole scandal with Kazuma pretty much so kind of trying to figure out who he is as a person with this newfound or this transformation, this alien watch on his wrist, and how people are going to be coming after him on top of him having to save the world and defeat the Demon King. It's also raw to him, the information, but he just puts a cool face on and tries to keep it nonchalant because he has an Omnitrix, and his knowledge and his experience and what he knows so far from his childhood of watching the TV show in his universe, the Omnitrix is the most powerful item in the universe, and it could pretty much make anybody that wields it, depending on who you are, a powerhouse. And Kazuma's fighting strategy with the Omnitrix is very similar to more of a strategized version of Ben Tennyson, mainly focusing on using his power in more conventional and smarter ways and trying to get the fight done as fast and as quick as possible. So what happened is they get back, or Kazuma gets back to the village as he sees a bunch of people crowded in the front of the town, or at the front of the gate, as he sees a guy with no head and a horse with no head on top of each other, with a guy on top of the horse. Basically saying that it's a wizard here that blows up his house every single day for weeks on end, and he wants them to stop now. Now we see that Megami does step up eventually after Aqua does push her to go because, well, Kazuma wasn't there, and also the point that they were about to freaking out a innocent other sorcerer that fit the subscription or the description of Megamine. So yeah, eventually Megamine goes over to this marauder or this demon king lord or this demon general and tells them, or pretty much puts a high game. She says she is a crimson demon witch and that she is the most powerful sorcerer here. Now, which is an absolutely bogus, and I mean bogus statement. I mean, she is ass, but she's like a one-shot gun, bro. Like, imagine having a gun, but you can only shoot one bullet a day. It's useless, bro. It's useless, especially in a combat situation, bro. So what happens is we see that Aqua does back up Megamine as well, as Kazuma says F it and backs her up as well. Now the group is about to get backed up as well, also backed up because, well, the general says, you know what, you're incredibly intoxicating, though. You know that, right? Or not intoxicating, you're incredibly naive. And he shoots her with a death spell, or so he seems. Kazuma jumps in before anybody else and gets shot with a death beam, but also so does Midnight. What happens is Kazuma transforms or tries to go for Ghost Freak or any type of transformation of that sort, but since he's so scared, since Kazuma not wanting to freaking die, he transforms into the Ghost Freak, trying to phase Megamine out the way, but he phases both of them, and before they can get out of the way, pretty much Midnight jumps in right before them as well. So she actually gets shot because the beam passes through Kazuma into her, and she falls on top of Megamine. So Megamine basically is kind of confused and also is very, very guilty because she just killed her friend. Her friend is dead. The general does also look at Kazuma's transformation and how he did that, saying, "Oh, you're like him, aren't you?" Kazuma may be confused. What are you talking about? Like who? You don't know, don't you? Down in the south, there's a boy. It's a boy with your gift, your skill. I've seen it before. Demon King's top right hand. A man of many talents, and many traits, many power. I fought alongside him a few years back. He looks strangely a lot like you, but with white hair. But enough of me giving you important secret information. Stop sending explosions onto my house, and there will be problems. But yet again, I already said that, so why am I repeating myself? Hear me and ward this. In the next 7 days, in the next few hours, your friend will die unless you come to my castle, get past my security, and then I might spare your friend if you're able to get past all that. You might impress me. And he walks off. After that would have happened, we see that Megamine, before he walks off, starts to go after a little freaky dink mother talk about how, oh goodness, you're gonna take me, aren't you? You're gonna take my body, my spirit, you're gonna vandalize me and devour me. And Kazuma's just watching, he's listening and saying, what the actual, who is this masochist motherfucker? But we see that pretty much the knight is kind of confused, saying, you're a freaking weirdo, and he just leaves. Like, who is this girl, bro? She's weird. And the whole guild, like the whole group, like all the adventurers are like kind of just like by the sight of Midnight literally just in it for the love of the game. She is a freak, bro. God damn. But we see how the knight leaves, as pretty much Megamine is just kind of sad because her friend is going to die, but she has to put everything she has to do. She has to put everything she has into this. so she has to save her friend. But we see that Kazuma stops her midway and says, you don't have to do that by yourself. Kazuma hits her on the shoulder and says, I'll help you out with this. I don't want you wasting your spell on some sort of newbie at the front of the gate. So, I'm going to help you out with this, okay? They both make a pact, and they're about to go head first into this whole entire castle. But before they can do that, it turns out Aqua isn't completely useless. She uses a ancient spell, not ancient spell, but since she's a goddess, her healing is out of this world. So she's literally able to heal this death curse from, well, midnight without any type of problem, bro. The whole Adventurers Guild absolutely praises Aqua, and, well, let's just say Midnight, Megamine, and, well, Kazuma are kind of just outshined by this whole debacle. But that's where episode 4 leaves off. And that's where I'm going to leave off the series. I don't know, this was a little bit, not a series, but this is where I'm going to leave off that episode. Now, I know this is a little bit of a shorter episode, but overall, this was a pretty good episode. And low-key, next episode will be a little bit longer, but I just had to upload a video to you guys. But I am thinking about doing a Devil May Cry what if. Just give me kind of suggestions. But as always, guys, have a blessed day. Like and subscribe, and as always, guys, deuces.